Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's video, I think it's going to be a good one. It may be a little hard to follow along, but if you guys can do it, this video should be good and I think a lot of you will enjoy this. Today's video, we are going to be looking at some schools that I have never showed before, and my experience with and being in these schools is still quite limited, and I am learning as we speak the things in these buildings. Those buildings in question are my school district's brand new schools, that being a elementary school and a middle school. This video is going to be pretty well, all entire video is going to be a voiceover, and we're going to be looking at many pictures of these schools throughout their process of being constructed. These schools were both completed in 2022. The first one was the elementary, which opened in September on time, on schedule, and the middle school that was supposed to open in September didn't make that deadline, and it happened in November and just opened. It is November 16th as I record this video, though I'm not sure when it's actually being uploaded. I have to apologize in advance here for the images in this video kind of being all over the place. The timeline does not match up. I'll try and voice over it as best as I can to explain when it is, but things aren't going to line up. It's going to be all over the place, and this video is more just to show you the different stages of construction and different images throughout these buildings. I think it would be good to start off with looking at the floor plans. As it was the first school to be completed, I think it's appropriate to start with the elementary school. Right now you can see the first and second floor of the elementary school, and guys, absolutely pause the video, it's probably way more helpful. This elementary was designed for 500 students and is built over 2 floors and has a wing off to the bottom left, you can see, which is designed to be a daycare space and a space that can be rented out to the community if people are requesting that. So that space is just a little bit different. It's got a kitchen in it, and it's designed, as I said, to be a daycare. We're going to move on to the middle school, where these first two images are the first floor on the left and the second floor on the right, and then we will get to the third floor, which will be a separate image. This middle school is designed for 700 students. I want to say as well that the fire alarm systems in these schools, since I know you guys will be wondering, each school has a Notifier NFS 640, but instead of just the regular display in it, it's got the NCA 2, I believe it's called. It's what's found in the Notifier NFS 3030s instead of, I think it's the KDM 2 or R2, which is usually what you see in the 640s. So it is nicer to have that bigger display for more zone enunciation is why it's there. So here we move on to the third floor of this middle school. This middle school is slightly more open concept than the elementary, but really they're both fairly open concept. They're both quite nice schools. I know you guys will ask, but there is not voice evacuation fire alarm systems in these schools. It is not required, as it's not a high-rise building, it's just a school, and I live in Canada, so voice evacuation requirements are a lot more relaxed than I know they are in the States, for say. These buildings do have quite nice ISO exit signs, or running man exit signs, which I'm sure you guys will notice later on. I do like what they've done there. We have all addressable devices. For smokes, we have the FSP 951s, and for horn strobes, we have the L series horn strobes with French lettering, P2RLA, and for the pulse stations, they are not NBG12LXs. I'm not sure what they are. Here we get into the pictures. Now we are done with the floor plans, and we're going to start actually looking at things. This is early on in the construction, and here is a little bit more ahead. As I said, these images jump around all over the place. Here we are still looking at the elementary school. However, this picture is the middle school at the, well, closer to the beginning stages, I should say. Here again is the middle school, but earlier on in the project. Elementary earlier on in the project. Again, the elementary even earlier on in the project, and then we have the elementary once again. The square footage of the middle school is 10,540 square meters, or 113,451 square feet, making it a mid-sized school. They're actually not as big as I was expecting, and that is the middle school. I'm not sure of the square footage for the elementary. As a comparison, my high school, when it first opened, was 13,000 square meters. And keep in mind the middle school is 10,000, so smaller than my school when it started out, though you guys don't know it of that. You only know it with the addition, which my school is now around 18,000 square meters. Or in imperial measurements, that is 193,750 square feet. We may have some photos that repeat themselves, and I apologize for that. However, the next photos we're getting into is the good stuff, where I got my first tour of the elementary and a very brief one of the middle school. So we start out with, you can saw the transformer, and we start out in the central plant. These buildings have a central plant which has the electrical room. This electrical room is I believe it's a 1600 amp or a 2000 amp main service at 347/600 volt, and outside of this room is the power transformer taking down the 25,000/14,400 volt from the power company to the school service. There is also a 200,000 watt generator out there. So each school got a Notifier 640 in it, as well as the central plant, and the fire alarm systems are tied into each other, and they all are networked together, but they don't alarm each other. Let's say the middle school goes off, the central plant and elementary will get a supervisory saying the middle school's an alarm, and say the elementary goes off, the central plant and middle school will get a supervisory, and I think you guys get the idea. At this point, we are heading into the elementary school and taking our first look, or I should say my first look. It was kind of cool to be able to see. I was the very first student in the district to get to go in the new schools. Well, at least legally. I'm sure many explored at night. I know many did. But it was still a fun experience. Here we are in that neighborhood learning center, or whatever they call it, that space that can be rented out. And you can see that they are just getting the T-bar ceiling in at this point. I believe the cost of this project was around 120 million, which for what we got was kind of sounds like a ripoff. Don't get me wrong, the schools are all right, but they're not amazing. Like my school, when I first walked into it, like when I was still in middle school, I was like, wow, it took me by surprise. Like, this is a school. This is crazy. These schools, you don't really get that same feeling. Like, they're nice modern buildings, but they're just not as big and open as my high school or the other high school built at the same time. Yet they're nearly the same cost. That goes to show how much earth moving costs, as these schools were built in a stupid place on the side of a mountain, and it cost a lot of money to make this flat enough to build buildings on it. So that took up a lot of that 120 million, which left a lot less for the buildings themselves, which is why you get less for a high price tag. Speaking of that, my school district has just been approved of 227 million by the province to create 2,280 new student seats in my school district. That is just for the next few years. 227 million was approved. Back to the topic of these new schools. Each school has its own electrical room with its own switchgear and generator transfer switch, as well as own fire alarm system, security systems, all that, PA, that's all. That's all each building. It's just that the central plant supplies power and the generator distribution out from there, as well as where the solar all comes back and is integrated. It's a very complicated setup in these schools, in fact. As far as the heating system, it is other fires when the kids light the elementary on fire. I'll get into that. I'm kind of joking, but there was a fire. The heating systems, I don't know too much about. Each school has its own independent parts of the system, but it all comes back to that main central plant, and it is ground source heat pumps for this building, which they actually don't have much cooling apparently at all. It's mostly heat. They have some cooling, but it's limited strength, if you will, I suppose. I'm just going off what I've been told here. About the fire, it was in the elementary school in that daycare area where there was still a stove, like half in the box, and there's boxes set on top, and a kid accidentally turned it on, and the stove caught on fire. A teacher got a fire extinguisher, put it out, but the fire alarm system went off and evacuated everyone, and that was the day before the school's very, very, very first ever fire drill. Here we are actually now at this point, we are in the middle school, and this same day, I think this is March of 2021, 2022, I should say, we got a full tour of the elementary and the middle school. We got to go up one stairwell and down one wing of the third floor, and that was about it. Here you can see out the window onto where the sports field will be, and here is one of the classrooms in this school. Something crazy about this middle school is apparently we have over 60 duct detectors, so I will only ever be able to test this school one time because I'm currently in grade 11, so I've only got one more year, which means I've only got one more summer in the district, so these will be the last schools that I get to show. They will be the last ones built in my time here. If you guys didn't notice already, the middle school that we're looking at here is a 3-floor building, and the elementary was a 2. Central plant, you can see in the middle there, is a single-floor building. The middle school has an artificial turf field, and the elementary has a genuine grass field. Each school is accessible off the same road, and there's kind of 2 roads on the school district's actual property which go back to the schools. Here is the elementary, and you can see the central plant with the generator up top. Here is some drone footage of the schools. We're going to spin over and around the field and around the school of the elementary here. We're kind of headed straight towards the middle school, but we're going to curve left around the elementary. I just want to say, I am going to miss so much. This is so brief. There is probably 20 hours worth of content, easy. More than that. There's a ton of content here that I could show you guys of these new schools. There's just so much to explain and to show, and I can't even remember all of it and what I should be showing you. So much of this will have to be like, if you guys have questions, put it down in the comment section. I may not know the question, but there's also a good chance I might have an answer and just forgot to put it in the video. Here you can see the solar panels on the top of the elementary school, and we're going to go back over them right now as we head towards the L building. The L building is what I call the central plant, and then to the left of it you can see that 200 kW Kohler generator and the 1000 kVA power transformer beside the central plant here. This video was taken before all of this was paved. We will go back after with the drone with some still images, and you will see the parking lot once it was paved. I gotta say too here, you can see those windows on this central plant, all those windows at the front to the left of that porta potty. Those windows are, it's an interesting idea and I kind of like it. You guys should let me know what you think. The windows are there so students, parents, and teachers, anyone that walks by that building, it's so they can look in at that central plant and see all of the heating systems in there, and all the pumps and controls, piping, everything you can just see inside, which I kind of like the idea of being able to show everybody what really runs these buildings, what runs these buildings and what keeps them heated and cooled, or whatever little bit of cooling there is. I think it's an interesting idea, but I think it's a bad idea. Like, you don't need extra windows to break. I guess maybe it's not a big deal, but it's like into a unknown space, and unknown things are what kids want to go see, so it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's okay. It just seems kind of unnecessary, but there's lots of things here where it doesn't seem like the designers, so I guess the architects and people, even things that wouldn't be on the architect, like where to place a photo cell. I find this all the time with new builds, especially schools, where they're not thinking of the end user, that being students, and how reckless and destructive kids can be. Some things like I said, that photocell mounted 6 feet off the ground underneath a bench. You can't tell me that they couldn't see that coming, where a kid would just jump up and pull it, but obviously they didn't, because it's there. And things like PA speakers on the exterior walls, like right at ear level, like just not well thought out things, and there's nothing you can do about it now. It's just a lot of these things are also on the architect, like silly designs that, like for example, putting the school on the side of the mountain, not really on the architect, but there's just some questionable things, and I don't have any examples to tell you guys, so I'm gonna make me look like a fool here, but I do remember there being many. Here is the artificial field at the middle school. The middle school has a turf, and the elementary has a normal grass turf. It's an artificial turf at the middle school, though. You can see it's quite a sizable drop off the side too, so totally kids won't want to kick soccer balls over at the cars below. That's surely not something I would have done if I was here. I'm getting kind of picky though. Overall, they are both beautiful buildings. By far the nicest elementary and middle in my district. The middle school is the newest middle school in a long time. I guess I couldn't say that. We have one from 2007, and that was the last middle school. So that one and this one are really the only two modern ones. And then before that, we have one in 98. I guess that's not so bad. But then before that, it was the 70s and the 60s. So this is definitely by far the nicest middle school. And as far as elementary, we haven't had a new one of those since 2007. And things have really changed since then. That's it for the drone footage. Here is the fire alarm system in the electrical room in the elementary school. This is just the elementary school for now. I don't think I have any of the central plant, but I do have some of the middle school. So here's the 640 with the battery box underneath it and some NAC extenders to the side. Here is the annunciator for the elementary school. I call the elementary the hand school because it looks like a hand. It looks like 4 fingers and a thumb. It's kind of weird looking. I don't see how that could be very efficient either for heat loss, to have all those basically fingers of the school sticking out. Those pictures you just saw was the generator transfer switches. They have like a fancy touch screen on them and stuff. Here are just some still images from the hallway. Here you can see the pull stations that have been used throughout this school. I'm not sure what they are, but that's them. And a lot of them are missing the break glass, like they weren't ever installed. All these sections in the ceiling where there's like probably an inch or two gap, that's where there's supposed to be lights, but they haven't arrived yet. Here are the beam detectors that are installed in elementary, and here are the test switches that are there to test and reset the beam detectors. Here's looking down the hallway of the elementary. This wood on the railings to the stairwell was temporary before they got the glass, or I think that one might have got the same stuff the middle school did. I call it cheese grater. You'll know what I mean later. Here is another image down the hallway. That kind of taller up area is where this beam detector is installed, which I believe they only have them in the elementary, but there might be some in the middle school. I haven't explored it too well yet. Here's a classroom. Each classroom has a horn in it. I believe it's a horn. I don't know for sure. Could be a chime, but I highly, highly, highly doubt it. These schools, I haven't heard the fire alarm systems yet, but I hope they're on low volume, because this thing would be screaming if this was on high. Another interesting thing is that they've got automatic sliding doors. Here is a short video. There's the gym, and going into the library to my left here on the second floor of the elementary. And there's this sort of courtyard, not really a courtyard because it's not closed off, but in between the two wings of the school. There's the main stairwell in the elementary. That's about as open as it gets. It's not as open concept of the middle as the middle, and that's not nearly as open concept as my school or the other high school built at the same time. Here's that taller up area where the beam detector is again. All the locks on this school are mostly Salto. Everything is incorporated with Salto in some way, and Salto is the electronic access brand that my school district uses, and for panic bars they are Von Duprin, which they have paired up with Salto devices. Salto is they seem great from my experience with using the products. They seem to be pretty good, pretty secure, nice quality products, and that's what they've used in this school. You may have seen one of those last images. That thing on the ceiling is kind of like an access point, but it's just for the locks, for all the wireless locks on the doors to communicate to the rest of the system. Don't worry about this picture. This one wasn't supposed to get in here. I don't know why that's in here. Anyways, here's the gym of the elementary at night. I have some pictures I was able to take at night at these schools. Here is the elementary again, followed by another one of the elementary, and then here are some at the middle school I was able to take through the window to show the construction. This here is taken from the first floor through the window at the middle school. The interesting thing about the middle school is the main level is actually the second level. It's not really a basement because, as you can see from the back side, you can see all 3 floors, but the front side of the school, you can only see the second 2 floors. So at the front, the first floor is kind of underground. Here is the washrooms. This is now the elementary again. I'm sorry, guys. We jump around. I had to take a picture of this. I thought this was pretty funny. This was in the daycare, so I guess they want to be able to keep an eye on the kids, but that's not a bathroom I'll be using because you can look right out into the main room and see the neighbors across the street. So that's, I don't know, maybe that's your cup of tea, but it's a little strange. Here is the mechanical room, boiler room in the elementary school. Here's that bathroom again. This is taken from the main room, in the hallway. And yeah, another one of that. Next photo here is top of the main entrance to the middle school. I'm now on the main level, so you can see you can go down or up. This is in one of the hallways. Looking down one of the hallways, I believe. Elevator car. I don't remember when this picture was from. Hallway, and then we have the fire alarm panel before the guts were actually put in it, when it was just the can still. And I've got some electrical room pictures of the middle school electrical room here too, which I believe each school got 800 amps to it. So it might be a 2000 amp service, 1600. I'm not sure in total what they put in there. I think it was 1600, but it might have been 2000. Here is the sprinkler setup in the middle school. And that's something they did a lot here at both schools, was putting electrical panels in the hallways, which I'm not a fan of. They didn't do that at my high school or the other high school. They were always in their own little closets, which is way better for working on or doing anything in the future, because they didn't run many extra pipes at all, and they really kind of screwed us for anything in the future. I don't like what they did there. There's the fire alarm system again in the middle school. And here we're going to have a bunch of drone shots. So back to what I was saying, is the panels were in bad spots, just in the middle of the hallway, or at the end of the hallway, right outside the doors to stairwell. I don't know what Buddy's doing there. Which, for one, is hard to work on anything, especially if it's live and you're trying to just open up to check on stuff or do whatever work you can do with it still live. It's in a terrible location if someone's just going to open a door to a stairwell right into your back. And like I said, as far as anything in the future, it's not set up well at all, as you can't really do anything in the future because they didn't run enough spare pipes, or any spare pipes for that matter, into the panels. So I'm not a fan of what they did there. And there you can see that central building again, central plant. There's your turf field on there, which, like I said earlier, it is a significant drop to the road there, probably easily 100 feet. This was a cool photo. I like this one, showing both schools. You can see the solar panels and how there's slightly more on the middle school. I'm not a fan of how the schools aren't normal shapes. They can't make any square buildings anymore, it doesn't seem like. They all got to be weird shapes. Even the last high school, which wasn't mine, but the other one was weird shapes, but it wasn't as bad. I like mine. It's just square. I like square buildings. These weird setups just look strange to me. There's what I call the cheese grater railings, because it's just a bunch of holes. You can see those nice thin exit signs that I like. And the drop ceiling there is sort of perforated metal. It's not the normal tiles. Lots of sections are the normal tiles. It's just some are the metal ones, like there, which I do think is cool. I do like the look of that. There's two sides to this thing on the middle school, which is built on top of the gym, on top of the second floor level, which is an outdoor space, kind of like my school has. There's your thin exit signs again. This video here is, it's hard to see, but watch for lights changing color. You can adjust the temperature of the lights. On the light switch, you can dim them up and down, and there's different modes you can hit, say reading mode, test mode, relax mode, and there's like an energize mode. I think there's like 4 or 5 modes in total, and you could adjust them on there, which I thought was pretty cool that you could do that with the lights. This is what the classrooms look like in the middle school. They do have univents in the corner beside the window there, which was a weird choice, and I'm not sure if I like that. And you can also see that in the middle, which is a carbon monoxide detector. Each room gets a carbon monoxide detector, which is the first school that I've seen with that. I don't even think the elementary on this site got that. It seems like it's just the middle school where each room has a carbon monoxide detector, and they're just, here's my fear. They look like they're just residential detectors. By the way, here's one of those fire shutters like mine has. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. They look like they're just 120 volt residential carbon monoxide detectors. First alert. And the thing is I'm guessing they have battery backup, so that's going to become a nightmare once batteries start going and you've got a school full of hundreds of these things that are just going to start chirping. Here's the PA system and the Salto access control wired units to the right. Here's a mouse I saw in the middle school, so already got mice in there. So it was a Carehawk PA system, not Telecore like mine has. I'm not sure why the fire alarm's tied into that, whether it shuts it down or plays a fire alarm message. I am not sure about that. Here's the foods room, which is a beautiful room. I like the foods room here. And here you can see 2 heat detectors in the foods room. So for some reason they felt the need for heat detectors in there. And here are those carbon monoxide detectors. Maybe you guys can tell me if those have battery backup. If they don't, that's great, but they probably do. Here is the bottom of that entrance in the middle school. I do like that section of the building. That's probably the nicest section of the building. Doesn't really have too many big open areas like my school does, so this little one here is pretty cool. There you can see second and third floor. Here is the library, or what they usually call Learning Commons. That space in the ceiling there, going down the middle, will have lights. Both schools still have lots of light fixtures missing that will be installed once they arrive. Here is the gym. The gym will be getting bleachers at some point. There are 6 horn strobes in the gym, which will be crazy loud. There's 3 horn strobes on one side and 3 horns on another. I'm hoping that every device in this school is set to low volume. If it is, that's good, because it's way, way better to have more low volume devices than less high volume devices. It's better coverage overall, and it doesn't have really uncomfortably loud spots and then quiet spots. So I like what they did here with horn strobes, especially each classroom. By having them in each classroom, it means that they can likely set the hallway ones to low volume and have the classroom ones on low volume instead of, say, my school where they're not in the classroom, so the hallway ones have to be on loud, have to be on high volume to carry into the classrooms to get the decibel requirements. So I do like what they've done there. Assuming they've put them on low volume, they may have put them on high, and they're just going to kill everybody here with the volume, because that would be crazy. High volume in each single room. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, because lots of times the electricians that are putting up the fire alarms are just putting them up how they come from the factory. This photo here is from the elementary school earlier on in the construction stage, very early on. Here is the fire alarm annunciator in the middle school. Feel to pause the video if you want to look at that. As you can see, the school grounds around the schools still aren't complete yet. There's still a lot of work to be done there, but it will get done. Like I said, this is just the first video I'm showing you guys of these new schools, and they're not really even complete yet. The first floor of the middle school isn't open to students yet, and won't be for another couple months. There's me. This next photo here is in the elementary school. Again, I'm not sure how this ended up here at this part of the video. And here is what some of the evacuation plans of the elementary look like. Another elementary photo. We have more elementary ones showing up all of a sudden. I don't even know how things got arranged. Here are the gender neutral washrooms. All of the schools have gender neutral washrooms. There's no option if you want to use a gendered bathroom. There are the Salto locks that they have on some of the doors, and at the fire doors in these schools, there's very few. The stairwells have fire doors, and that's about it, which are magnetically held open, and I'm not sure if they're programmed like they are in my high school, where they only activate on smoke. These schools don't have the smoke exhaust and pressurization fans like my schools do, because they don't have the large atrium that's over 3 floors. Any atriums there are just 2 floors. You know what, the middle school might have something in the large area. I haven't seen anything though. I don't believe there is anything. But they actually do have, that part is sort of shut off from the rest with fire doors, so maybe it doesn't need it. Anyways, I think you guys are getting the point. I've told you guys as much as I know, and I really don't know much else here about these schools, so I hope I explained everything decently okay. I have very limited knowledge, but I am totally looking forward to making more videos and showing off these brand new, pretty nice schools in the future, and I hope you guys are looking forward to that too. Let me know if you guys have any questions about these schools. Even if I didn't get to it, make sure to put that question down below and maybe I can answer it. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for you guys on these 2 brand new buildings for the time being. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I can't stress this enough. Once again, leave comments down below. Thank you guys for watching.